Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're here with part 5 of our F1 22 MyTeam career mode here for the Miami Grand Prix. Our first time racing at this new circuit, this new addition to Formula 1. We head into the round in 13th place in the driver's standings on 12 points, equal with Mick Schumacher, and obviously in the constructors we've also only got 12 points as we're the only ones to have actually scored points yet so far for the team, for sure. Just not quite getting there yet, so hopefully in the future he can score some points. In terms of R&D and our performance chart coming into this round, we've closed in a little bit to AlphaTauri and McLaren, but not a whole lot. As you can see, we're actually going for a little bit of a different video format now on the new game here. We are going to be including qualifying once again. I've had a couple people say that they think I should include qualifying, and so here we are in Miami in Q1, going to finish our first timed lap, and it's P9 for now. Obviously we're going to fall further down the table as people actually set lap times, and by the time everyone else sets their first lap, we're down in P17, for sure down in P19. We're about 2.2 seconds off of the current pole time, so we're going to have to go out again for a second and final lap here in Q1, and hopefully it's enough to get through to Q2. You can see already we were a few tenths up by the exit of turn 3. Unfortunately, I'm only going to end up improving by about 2 tenths, but as we cross the line, it is going to be enough for P15, and so we are out into Q2 in our first showing of qualifying here in the series. Unfortunately, for sure, down in P19, just not quite able to do it. We only just really scraped through into Q2 as well, only about a tenth ahead of getting knocked out. You can see in Q2 on our first lap, though, we make a massive mistake there in that very tight chicane. It's very easy to lose the car through there, and unfortunately, that's the end of that lap. The tyre's going to be a bit overheated, and I did very slightly damage my front wing, so you can see just aborting that completely, not even going to go for a second lap on that set of tires, and that means we're going to have one lap to do here in Q2 to try and get through to Q3. I doubt we will, but we're going to give it a go anyway to see how far up the grid we can get for the start of the Miami Grand Prix. You can see a pretty decent run through the first few corners as we now cut a little bit later in the lap here to the chicane. Hopefully this time getting it a little bit better. You can see being a bit more cautious, but we do get through there in the end. Still not great. I definitely lost a fair bit of time through that chicane. I just went a little bit too wide through that first part, but as we now cut to the end of the lap, we're going to come through the final corner here, keep it nice and tight across the line, and unfortunately, it's only P16, about 7 tenths off Sonoda there in P12, so that is the end of our qualifying journey here in Miami. Leclerc, at the moment, runs in pole position, 6 tenths ahead of Sainz, so he's got a pretty hefty lead on him there, as you can see, down P16. Our Q1 time was a 29.6, so even if I had been able to do that, we still would have been in P16, but yeah, that's all there was to look at in qualifying, and so now it is time to move on to the Miami Grand Prix.
We're here in the coastal shores of Florida for the Miami Grand Prix, which has become the 11th Formula One track held in the United States. The grandstands are packed for what we hope is going to be another fantastic race. A lap of the Miami Grand Prix features 3.36 miles of track around the Hard Rock Stadium, and 19 corners make up the Miami International Autodrome, which will challenge the drivers in a tight wheel-to-wheel race. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Perez, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, and Lando Norris, Magnussen, Sonoda, Pierre Gasly, and Ricciardo, Joe, Benjamin, Alex Albon, and Valtteri Bottas, Richard Verschoor, Stroll, Latifi, and Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
So no grid penalties to help us out here in Miami as we get underway for our formation lap. It's, as usual, going to be a one-stop strategy, starting on the medium compound tyres and heading on to the hard compound just before halfway through the race. If we want to be scoring any points here in Miami, I think we're going to have to hope for a little bit of a miracle, whether it's a nicely timed safety car or a bunch of people having a pit for damage and DNFs and whatnot, because we just don't quite have the pace around here to get there on merit. So yeah, it certainly should be an interesting race. I think it's certainly a good track for racing, at least on the game, as we get underway for the Miami Grand Prix. It's a nice start, at least compared to Ricardo in front of us, as we're going to get right up alongside as we head down towards turn 1. Everyone going real slow out on the racing line there, and so as we head through turn 1, we're side by side with Schumacher. We're going to go around the outside of the Haas through turn 2. Norris makes a bit of a mistake ahead of us. We're on the inside for turn 3, and we do slot in ahead of the Haas, and that's us in P10. So immediately from P16 to P10 there, just through turn 1 as the two Haas cars race behind us. What a start that was for us there, but I can tell you now, we do not have the pace to hold on to this position. I'm certainly going to give it a go, and I'm going to try and see if we can make any more moves out of this, but yeah, we're going to struggle from this point out in the Grand Prix. It's just an incredible launch, and everyone getting held up behind each other at the start as we cut a little bit later on to lap 1 here as we come towards the final hairpin here. Norris going very slow into the braking zone there, and so we've gone for a very late dive to the inside of the McLaren. He'll have the outside line though, which means he gets the better launch off of the corner, and so he gets ahead of us, but we are right behind him now in the slipstream. No DRS just yet, but we are right behind, and we're going to go to the outside of turn 1. We run it very deep under brakes, going slightly off track, but we do hold it alongside through turns 1, 2, and now side by side through 3. There's a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact between myself and the Brit, making sure we don't have any damage, which we luckily don't. And we do have the inside here for the very fast left-right section, and that is us now into P9, looking at scoring 2 points for the team. But can we hold on to it? I'm not too sure as we now come to lap 3. We've got Mick Schumacher and Magnussen, both the Haas cars, trying to score some points there for the team, and Schumacher to the inside as we head down towards turn 11 here. The big braking zone at the end of the straight. He is alongside the McLaren, and he does sweep around the outside of turn 12 there and get himself into the points, and that Haas is very quick in straight line, so we are in trouble if he's able to get close to us, and he is within DRS range. So now, as we go on to lap 4, DRS is enabled. You can see he's up alongside us into turn 1. He runs us right out wide there through turn 1, but we do get the better launch off the corner there because we had that wider line, and that is us back into P9, at least for now, but we are under heavy attack here, still on lap 4 here. Schumacher looking to overtake us into turn 11 like he did to Norris. We force him to go to the outside though, and we do hold the position with the inside line there, and we're back on the racing line for turn 12 to make sure he doesn't launch up the inside there as we lose the rear a little bit. Still struggling to get around this track in this car, but as we now come to lap 5, we've got a little bit of a gap to those guys behind us now, and so Schumacher under threat from Lando Norris. Norris trying to go around the outside of the hairpin, and we know that that is the better line because you get the better run off the corner as they go side by side now through the final couple corners. Who's going to get DRS? It is Lando. Mick misses out on DRS there, and so that means the McLaren's going to be right up alongside for turn 1, and Lando is back ahead now into P10, so very big scrap happening here for the final spot in the points paying position. So we look a bit further up at the front of the pack now on lap 6, the two Red Bulls going at it, the reigning champion Verstappen trying to get ahead of his teammate here for P5. He's going to have the outside line, which again we know is the better line to have in a battle around here, as Verstappen is alongside the other Red Bull there, and he will have DRS as well off of Checo just to make sure he gets that done. He's back on the racing line before they even get to the braking zone anyway. As we look further back, these two still going at it. Schumacher gets himself ahead of Lando once again, and these guys are still just about within DRS, so even though these guys are battling away, they are still very close to us and just stopping us from getting too far away. But at least this battling that they are doing, as Lando tries again, is at least allowing us to pull a little bit of a gap and keeping us safe for a little bit, so it gives us a bit of time to recharge our batteries, keep the tyres cool, and when these guys inevitably start catching us once again, we will have a bit of time and a little bit of energy to try and battle them. As Magnussen now trying to go for a move on Norris, ends up going for a move on his teammate as well. Can he pull off a double overtake here as they head through turn 12? Schumacher keeps it ahead of his teammate, but Magnussen has got the move done on Lando Norris, and he's looking very hungry to get himself into the points to see which Haas driver will be scoring points for the team, unless maybe they can both catch me, in which case then they'd both have a very good chance at scoring points as we now head down the back straight here. It is going to be DRS for Magnussen over Schumacher. Schumacher now over a second away from us, which means he's going to be very vulnerable to his teammate. He's going to go defensive here into the hairpin. So it's going to be Magnussen to the outside. And if he can hold the outside through the main part of the corner here, we know he'll get the better launch. And he does do exactly that. And he is ahead of Schumacher and into P10 for now. But who has the DRS now as we head down towards turn 1? It is Schumacher, but Magnussen is just able to hold on to the position by the looks of it. Schumacher deciding to sit behind his teammate and not slow him down any further. Maybe a bit of team strategy there happening, maybe a bit of radio from the engineers back in the garage. As we look at Verstappen making a mistake now in the hairpin, this gives Perez the opportunity to try and get back at his teammate as they head down towards turn 1. Verstappen again, though, gets the DRS there, and so he's going to be able to pull back in front of the Red Bull. As we look back at us now, Magnussen, that is, actually, has closed up to us. He's to the inside. It's now 3 wide between myself and the 2 Haas cars as Magnussen gets himself ahead. We go around the outside of the second last corner. We'll have the inside for the last corner. We have DRS. Magnussen misses out. Schumacher's have to pull in behind us as we head to turn 1. I'm going to run a little bit deep into the corner there under brakes, and I was just very eager to keep ahead of both Haas cars, and we have done it. We sit in P9. Magnussen keeps ahead of Schumacher there. Schumacher trying to get the move done on his teammate, but now we've had a little bit of a knock-on effect here with this entire field bunching up, and so further back we've got Gasly going alongside Ricciardo there, trying to get ahead of our fellow Aussie. They're going to go side by side through this entire section here. Ricciardo holding it around the outside of the AlphaTauri. Does he get the move done? Not quite. They're going to keep going side by side at this point, so a lot of battling happening here around Miami. It certainly seemed to be a good track for it as we head a little bit further down the straight, down towards turn 11. Gasly does end up getting the move done, but now once again we are under attack from Magnussen, not able to defend to the inside because he's already there. We go around the outside of turn 11, inside for turn 12. Magnussen is still there. I almost had the move there, but he's just kept his nose in, and we're going to go side by side through the chicane now, and unfortunately I just had to back out there because I wasn't sure if he was going to cut across my nose or not, and so that is us back now down into P10, and we get horrible traction out of that very tight corner there. Unfortunately there, just had absolutely nothing. I was wheel spinning all the way up into 5th, 6th gear, and that's allowed Schumacher to even get ahead of myself. So we've lost 2 spots there. We're now out of the points as both Haas are ahead of us as we head into the hairpin. Schumacher going for a big dive on his teammate. They made a little bit of contact. Am I able to benefit from this maybe and get at least one position back to get back into the points? Unfortunately not, as the 2 Haas cars again just get the better launch out of the hairpin. But at least hopefully now I can try and stay with these guys in the DRS, and maybe they can battle with each other, and you know, maybe they get damaged, or maybe I'm just able to benefit from one of them getting a poor run or something. But we're just going to have to bide our time and wait and see as we now cut to lap 12. Yuki Tsunoda under attack from Lando Norris. Yuki actually goes very deep into turn 11 there. He must have locked up one of the wheels, and that's allowed Norris through. And now the other AlphaTauri, Gasly, round the outside of turn 12, inside of turn 13 there. Does he get the move done? Yes, he does. No, actually, they're going to keep going side by side. Yuki doesn't back out of it like we did. They're going to keep going side by side through this entire section here. They're still on exit. I thought one of them was going to be ahead, or at least I thought Gasly was going to be ahead as they exited that corner, but Yuki's just kept his nose in there. So this is some great battling from these guys, not even for points. Are they going to go 3 wide? Yes, they are. Ricciardo trying to get a double overtake done on the AlphaTauris, but it looks like Gasly's got it ahead. No, Yuki dives it to the inside of the hairpin, and he actually completely cuts off his teammate there. Gasly does, and Yuki has to come in to the pit lane, I imagine, for some damage. There's still a couple laps before any of us are meant to come in. As you can see, we cut to the end of lap 13 now, and it is myself and that's Magnussen coming into the pit lane for our scheduled one-stop strategy here. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe the undercut can get us at least ahead of Schumacher and hopefully keep us ahead of the guys behind us as we get an optimum turn-in point there. You can see in purple as we hopefully get a nice pit stop. No pit stop errors. Perfect 2.5 seconds. We have to wait a little bit, actually. We have to get held for a second to make sure we didn't run into Magnussen, because we must have just got that little bit of a better pit stop than him. And yeah, that's unfortunately. Unfortunately, we weren't able to at least try an unsafe release to get right on the back of the Haas there. We had to wait before he was ages away, but now it's just a case of trying to warm these tyres up and get a good outlap to get ahead of these guys. You can see we cut to the end of lap 15. He actually started lap 15, ended lap 14, and we are way behind Schumacher, and even Norris now has jumped us, and we're in P11 actually. So you may notice at the top left there, Verstappen is behind us and on soft compound tyres, so he must have had to come in for damage that he may have gotten racing his teammate there, and that is us. I don't think Verstappen will be able to get ahead of us because he's buried in that battle pack, and he'll have to make another pit stop. As you can see, right on the back of Lando Norris now, as these guys having to deal with the cold tyres. And so as we now head down this very long back straight here, it's got, I don't even know if you can really call it a straight. There's a lot of turning involved in this very flat out straight. As we head down towards turn 11, we're going to go for a big dive here on the McLaren to get ourselves back into the points. We ran a little bit too deep. I was a bit too eager there, but we luckily held position as we go through turn 12. We have the inside line. He's not able to hold the outside on those cold tyres. And now we're going to have a look to see if we can maybe close in on Schumacher while he still has to put up with his cold hard tyres. Unfortunately not able to do it this lap, but as you can see, cutting now to the next lap, lap 16, we are all over the back of the house, practically pushing him through that very tight section of track there. And we get a nice launch off the corner compared to him there. And with DRS, a little bit of ERS to play with, we are going to close right up to the back of Schumacher. He goes defensive as we head down towards the hairpin there, down towards turn 17. We're going to go to the outside here to try and get the launch out of the hairpin. We get it done very nicely there, and we are completely ahead before we even start turning left here for turn 18 and 19 now. And as we head on the lap 17, that is us back into P9. And I don't think we'll have the pace to close in on Magnussen. He seems to be very quick as Schumacher tries to come back at us again, but he's not quite able to get the move done as we now head through turn 3, and we are completely ahead of the Haas car now as we move on to lap 18, looking again towards the front of the field. The two Mercedes racing for the final spot on the podium. Hamilton trying to get ahead of his younger teammate there, but Russell will have that outside line that we know is so much better, and he does get the move done there on his very experienced 7-time world champion teammate. But Hamilton will have the DRS as they head down towards turn 1. He's going to go to the outside, but has to tuck back in behind Russell. So Russell holds on for now. The youth seeming to outdo the older experienced driver at the moment for Mercedes as we cut to the end of lap 19. These guys going at it again. But this time, Hamilton will get the move done on Russell. He will have the DRS here. Very, very similar to the moves we saw happening with Red Bull earlier on, where Hamilton is going to have the DRS and the better line through turn 1 and get that move into third place. As we look further back, Verstappen with an engine failure. You can see he's made that second pit stop there onto the hard compound tyre, and he wasn't going to score points anyway, but just rubbing salt in the wounds there for the Red Bull and the reigning world champion to be DNFing here from the Miami Grand Prix, and that is not going to help him in his title efforts against Charles Leclerc. As we look back at us now, racing Lando Norris, so Norris coming back at us here, and he's actually at some point, I must have missed it, gotten back ahead of Mick Schumacher, as Schumacher now going for a move on Norris to get back into the points. This is a very big scrap. A lot of racing and battling going on here for just a couple of very minor points in this championship. But with these cars that the three of us are racing in here, any point could matter as a safety car comes out, sort of saved by the bell there for Lando Norris. You can see nice timing there for him as obviously reacting to Verstappen having a DNF there, and that actually helps us a lot as well. It's unfortunately not the right time for us to try a little sneaky strategy of coming in for a soft compound tyre, but it will get us on the back of Magnussen, so we're going to have to try and benefit from that. But we're going to do a little order check here. We've got Charles Leclerc leading the way ahead of Ferrari, who helping lead Ferrari 1-2 here in Miami. It's the two Mercedes of Russell and Hamilton in P3 and 4. Russell is actually back ahead of Hamilton there, so he must have missed that overtake as well. Perez flying the solo flag there for Red Bull in P5. The Alpines doing very well for themselves in P6 and 7. Magnussen, as I just said before, in P8, who now has us right behind him again. He was about 10 seconds ahead of us before the safety car got called out, and so this has given us a new opportunity to try and move further up the points scoring table here. Just behind us in P10, Lando Norris rounding out the points, and Mick Schumacher will be looking to get ahead of him on the restart there in P11 for sure. We haven't actually looked at him the entire race. He started P9 and he's doing very well for himself at the moment in P14, and if he gets a good start and maybe a bit of trouble for some others, I could see him potentially scoring some points this weekend. So yeah, hopefully he can just get his head down and try to get a good result for us. Obviously points aren't expected, but they would be very much appreciated at this point where we're trying to fight with the other teams around us in the constructors. As we get on the restart here on lap 24, the lapped cars causing a bit of trouble here, holding up Ocon and Magnussen. Magnussen gets very held up. We're past the Haas car as he got held up by, I believe that was Gasly, who's had a bit of trouble just before the safety car there, and is now a lap car. And yeah, I'm sure he won't be too happy with that. And I don't even know if that's technically legal. There were yellow flags and blue flags and everything happening going on at that moment. But we take what we can get when we can get it. That's us into P8 now, and right behind Esteban Ocon, who's been massively held up by those guys as well. And he does have a Renault power unit in the back of that Alpine car, which is the weakest rated performance power unit in the game so far. As we now head down towards turn 11, the big braking zone, we are closing on the Alpine. I'm going to go for a big dive here because it may be our only opportunity. Ocon locks up, as he maybe wasn't expecting us to go for the move. So as we head through to turn 12, we're completely unchallenged, and into P7 now, as Ocon seems to be under threat from Kevin Magnussen, and he's going to have to focus on defending as opposed to trying to catch back up to us. So awesome restart there for ourselves. And somehow, I was saying at the start of the race, it's going to be a bit of a miracle to score points. Well, we've gone from P16 to P7 here in Miami with just a handful of laps to go. And we've got a nice gap behind us as well, as Ocon has to defend from Kevin Magnussen into turn 17 hairpin. Magnussen will have the outside, so he should have the better run here as they head out of turn 17 into turn 18. Magnussen is ahead of the Alpine, and I'm sure Alpine and Ocon won't be very happy with that lap there, and probably going to complain to the FIA about those lap cars causing a lot of interference. As we now cut to lap 27, Hamilton again going for a move on his teammate Russell here. He'll have the outside for turn 1. He holds it this time though, compared to the last few times where he's pulled him behind, and he does get the move done there into P3, and he's got a little bit of a gap to Russell now, as Perez actually just behind Russell as well. So a little bit of a battle going on here for the final podium positions. We now cut to the final lap of the Grand Prix. We are under attack from Kevin Magnussen, goes to the inside of turn 1. I'm going to try and hold the outside here, and we do get the move done there. He's not able to hold it around the outside of turn 2. And so for now at least, we've held off the storm of the Haas that is very quick in a straight line with that Ferrari power unit, and seems to be a bit of a low drag car. You can see weaving around all behind us, trying to find a way through, and putting me under a lot of pressure at the moment, I must say, to try and hold on to P7 as we look further up the field. Remember, this is the final lap of the Grand Prix, and Carlos Sainz of the Ferrari wants a race win. He hasn't won a race yet here this season. On the last lap into turn 11, he's to the inside of his teammate. I'm sure Mattia Binotto absolutely hating this. These two drivers fighting for the lead of the Miami Grand Prix. They've got 3.5 seconds to the cars behind, but Leclerc does hold on to the lead for now, as we have to keep defending from Magnussen, who's trying to go around our outside of turn 12. We luckily do get the move done there, and that's actually got him to be under attack from Norris, who sweeps around the Haas there through the chicane. He absolutely jumps over the curb there and pretty much straight lines it, and he gets himself into P8, and that's given us a nice gap, so we should be able to hold position here as we look to the front of the grid, the front of the field I should say. Charles Leclerc has held on ahead of his teammate. He's going to win here in Miami. Sainz will finish in P2. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari. Perfect weekend for them, especially with Verstappen retiring. They've benefited massively there in the championship. It is Hamilton third, although look at that, he's had a 5-second penalty which has dropped him from third to 6th. So Hamilton will be fuming about that, but it's going to be an awesome result for us here this weekend with P7.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé. And that's the checkered flag. What an amazing victory in what has been a great Miami Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on track was: speed. I know it sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
And so here we are with the confirmed results for the Miami Grand Prix. Leclerc wins the race ahead of his teammate. Sainz does get the fastest lap though to get himself that extra bonus point. Russell rounds out the podium there in P3 after Hamilton got that penalty. Perez ends up 4th. Alonso in a very nice P5 there for Alpine. Hamilton in 6th place. Ourselves 7th. Norris in 8th. Magnussen 9th. And Schumacher rounds out the points there for Haas. So it is a double points for Haas in the end. Verschoor ends up in P13. So decent result there for our rookie teammate. He's certainly improving and showing signs that in the near future he could possibly start scoring points for ourselves here at Zvezky F1 Racing. In terms of the driver standings, we move up to P9 now on 18 points, equal with Kevin Magnussen actually. So yeah, very good of us to keep ahead of him in the race, and Lando as well, I guess, getting ahead of him has allowed for that to happen. Leclerc still leading the way by an absolute margin. Same with the constructors. Ferrari destroying at the moment, 103-point lead over Red Bull in second. So I'd say they pretty much already wrapped this up, unless that performance patch comes in soon and Red Bull start to dominate. We'll have to wait and see. We move ourselves up into P8 after a nice point scoring round here for us, ahead of AlphaTauri, who didn't score any points here. So yeah, it could be crucial, these small positions that we are making. It may seem like, oh, we've moved from 9th to 8th in the constructors, but there is a fair amount of monetary gain by moving up one of those positions in the constructors, and so it's important to make sure we score as many points as often as possible. We are going to do an aero team building, weight training, chassis equipment upgrade, and a sponsor event fundraiser here for our activities, and that will fill out our entire activity timeline as we head towards the Spanish Grand Prix. We also have a marketing department, an event happening here, and it is to choose our new rival. And it has to be one of the McLaren drivers, either Ricciardo or Norris. And so I had to think, who have we been battling the most? Has it been Ricciardo or Norris? And in the end, I've decided to go with Lando Norris, especially this time out in Miami. We certainly saw a lot of him. So yeah, our new rival will be Lando Norris just for the next few races here, and yeah, we've got to make sure we beat him. And it gives us, especially with Auto, a secondary sponsor there, their goal being to out-qualify our rival. It gives something to actually aim for now in qualifying, to beat Lando Norris. That is our main goal in qualifying. As long as we do that, then we are successful. As we start to move through the timeline now, you can see we get a wing mirrors upgrade there for our aero department. We also get spark plug upgrade there in the powertrain department. So yeah, slowly getting some upgrades in, and that is all for this video, guys. So yeah, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. We have the Spanish Grand Prix coming up next, which always seems to be a decent race on this game compared to real life, where it's a bit more dull. But yeah, looking forward to that next. So yeah, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.